Chapter 2779. Welcome back to the Dragon Palace. Congratulations, Dragon King. Thunderous voices reverberated at the entrance of the abyss. Everyone from the Nine Heavens sect bowed down, their eyes filled with respect. This was respect from the bottom of their hearts. The Dragon Palace had won today's battle. The strength that the Dragon Palace had displayed had shocked them. A behemoth at the level of an emperor god, and the terrifying thorny monster from the Dragon Palace that could go against an emperor god. Close to 300,000 God King experts. Although their strength was much weaker than the Imperial Court. Would the Imperial Court dare to fight against such a Dragon Palace? Especially when the Battle of the Abyss had broken out. Another point was that the Emperor God monster under the Dragon King could communicate with the Abyss species of the Emperor God level. What did this mean? No matter what, the current Dragon Palace had become a terrifying existence. Wuxia swept his gaze across them and nodded. Dragon King, the front line has been settled. At this moment at the front lines, Wuxia led over 10,000 God Kings of the Dragon Palace and flew over, reporting excitedly. Great. Wuxia swept his gaze across the planets in front of him, and revealed a faint smile. He patted Xiaozhai's head and flew towards Wuxia. Sky Array, Prime Minister Turtle, and the rest flew over immediately. Seeing this, Wuxia quickly followed suit. Dragon King, we've taken down all the planets. I've also killed that Imperial Court protector, but many of the Imperial Court experts escaped. Wuxia came to Wuxia and said fervently. He had done something huge. What about the teleportation array? Wuxia asked. The teleportation array has been destroyed. It will take a day or two for the Imperial Court experts to arrive. Wuxia replied immediately. Even the Void Emperor will need 5 to 6 hours to reach such a distance. Heavenly Formation calculated for a moment before speaking. 5 to 6 hours? I'm afraid this place will be the abyss in 5 to 6 hours. Wuxia murmured. Dragon King, we've gotten quite a lot of treasures and corpses of the abyss species. We've hit the jackpot. Wuxia said excitedly. Wuxia chuckled and looked at the Tuscans beside him. Hee Dragon King, it's me, the Earth Dragon Emperor. The Tuscans walked over to Wuxia respectfully and chuckled as he spoke. Be honest. Where are Blue Moon and the others? Tell me about their situation. Wuxia patted him and asked. Yes, Dragon King. You might not know this, but back then, when Master and Master Lingxia were being hunted down, Xiaolon brought them to escape, and happened to meet this vile person. We entered the energy tide, passed through a long black hole, and entered a chaotic region. We almost died there. Luckily Xiaolon and Master were powerful. But when we rushed out of the chaotic region, we met some disciples of the Imperial Court. At first they were fine, but later on, they suddenly coveted Xiaolon and wanted to obtain Xiaolon. Master and the others naturally did not agree. After they wanted to kill Master, we killed them instead. However, we didn't know their background and strength at that time. In the end, we were hunted for a few years. Fortunately, Lil Blue grew up quickly and escaped the calamity time and time again. But because of Lil Blue's rapid growth, we attracted the attention of the experts of the Imperial Court. They wanted Lil Blue even more. Later on, we went through many hardships to escape to the Abyss Seed. Along the way I almost died. Luckily Master saved me. However, my Earth Divine Dragon real body and Master Lingxia were separated from us during the escape. What? Lingxia was separated from you guys? The Tuscan's Wuxia's expression changed drastically. He interrupted her immediately with a murderous look in his eyes. Yes, Dragon King. But don't worry, Dragon King. My Earth Divine Dragon real body will protect Master Lingxia. Moreover, I can sense that my real body is not dead yet. This means that Master Lingxia will not die either. I, the Tuscans, guarantee with my life that as long as I'm not dead, Master Lingxia will be fine. The Abyssal raised his head and said with a look of loyalty. Wuxia looked a little embarrassed. He wasn't too worried about Qingyue's safety, because she had inherited the legacy of the ancient god Kun breeder, and had Xiaolon. She had many tricks up her sleeves. However, Sun Lingxia didn't have so many tricks up her sleeves. Fortunately, the Dragon Palace did not sense Lingxia's death. Continue. Wuxia said with a solemn face. Yes, Dragon King. When we entered the abyss, the experts from the Imperial Court were still chasing us. However, the abyss was like a fish in water to Xiaolan. Xiaolan devoured a large number of abyss species and grew stronger. In the end, she possessed the strength of an emperor god. After Xiaolan became an emperor god, we were safe. Master nurtured Xiaozhai and later had a conflict with an emperor god abyss species in the abyss. After killing it, Xiaozhai also possessed the strength of an emperor god. After that battle, we also got to know the other two emperor god abyss species in the abyss. We called them Huasha and Minghe. Minghe has been trying to stir up trouble and expand the abyss. Master and I are filled with hatred for the Imperial Court. Master Lingxiao's current situation is even more unknown. Therefore, we joined forces with Minghe Sha. However, we are mainly responsible for the border between Pingy Island and the Imperial Court. The war has yet to break out. The Tuscans changed his narration and stood beside Wang Xian respectfully. Imperial Court. Wang Xian's eyes shone with cold murderous intent when he heard him. The Tuscans made it sound simple. However, Wang Xian could feel the dangers involved. To be able to force Lingxiao to be separated from the Green Moon, and force an ancient god Kuan breeder to flee for a few years, they must have dodged all kinds of calamities and life and death crises. How's the situation over at the Green Moon? Wang Xian asked with a gloomy face. Dragon King, the situation over at Master's side is still fine. We have the advantage of the abyss. They won't dare to attack us. The Tuscans replied immediately. How long does it take to reach the Green Moon from the abyss over here? How long does it take to reach from the abyss over at the Devil Island? Wang Xian continued to ask with flickering eyes. With Xiaozhai's speed, it's about the same. The Tuscans pondered for a moment before replying. All right. All Dragon Palace disciples, get ready to return to the Dragon Palace. Prime Minister Turtle, declare war on the Imperial Court immediately. Wang Xian's eyes shone with murderous intent as he ordered the Dragon Palace members behind him. Yes, Dragon King. Yes, Dragon King. The group of members and Prime Minister Turtle answered immediately. Prime Minister Turtle took out the artificial intelligence system immediately and revealed a cold and ruthless expression. The Dragon Palace will declare war on the Imperial Court until one side is destroyed. Chapter 2780. The Dragon Palace will declare war on the Imperial Court until one side is destroyed. It was a very brief announcement. However, everyone knew very well what this line of words meant. All disciples of Dragon Palace, enter the Dragon Peak. At this moment, the Heavenly Formation Commander, Long Feng, came over and said to all the members. The members of Dragon Palace immediately flew towards the Dragon Peak. Dragon King, I can send the Dragon Peak back directly. If you want to send the small residents over, I will need half an hour to set up the formation. Tianjin flew over and said to Wang Xian, set up the array formation and bring the small residents over. Wang Xian replied immediately. It's Dragon King. Tianjin nodded. The group of Dragon Palace members entered the Dragon Peak. Slowly, the entire Dragon Peak became illusory and then disappeared. Little mansion, go over there and coordinate with the Heavenly Formation. Wang Xian transmitted his voice to the house. Woo woo. Xiaozhai shook his huge body and flew to the side. Heavenly Formation immediately set up a formation around him. The entire Dragon Peak has actually disappeared. This is a large-scale transmission array. At this moment, not far away, the experts of the various forces were shocked when they saw this scene. The array master of Dragon Palace is really terrifying. Some experts murmured. One should know that the entire Dragon Peak was the size of a planet. However, it could be teleported directly. This showed how powerful the array masters of the Dragon Palace were. This domain is about to be devoured by the abyss. Everyone, leave as soon as possible. At this moment, Wang Xian's voice sounded. Is this place going to be devoured by the abyss? Hiss. Upon hearing Wang Xian's words, everyone's expressions changed as they looked into the abyss. In their line of sight, a large number of abyssal species flew over, and everyone's expression changed slightly. Look at the AI. The AI has made a statement on Dragon Palace. At this time, an astonished voice rang out. Some people immediately opened their brains. The Dragon Palace will declare war on the imperial court until one side is destroyed. When everyone saw this line of words, their expressions changed. They had a bad feeling in their hearts. The Imperial Star region would soon descend into war. The Imperial Court, which had stood in the Imperial Star region for hundreds of millions of years, had finally met its match. The Dragon Palace's announcement had attracted the attention of countless people on the AI. Not long ago, the Dragon Palace attacked the Imperial Dynasty's frontline planet and killed the Imperial Dynasty experts and disciples. This matter had already caused a commotion in the Imperial Dynasty. The entire artificial intelligence system was full of curses for the Dragon Palace. A large number of comments said that the Dragon Palace was courting its own destruction. Now that they saw the Dragon Palace declare war on the Imperial Dynasty, numerous people on the computer laughed. Ha ha ha, this is the biggest joke in the world. This is the funniest joke I've ever seen in my life. A Dragon Palace actually declared war on the Imperial Court until one side is destroyed. Is there anyone who wants to die like this? What happened? Why did the Dragon King of Dragon Palace lose his mind and become so crazy? He actually declared war against the Imperial Dynasty. Can't you see that you are on the same level as the Imperial Dynasty? Ha ha ha, Dragon Palace is really arrogant. During this period of time, many people said that Dragon Palace is strong. Now, they actually dared to declare war against Imperial Court. I guess Dragon Palace won't survive more than 3 days. I'm guessing that one day later, a god emperor from the Imperial Court will descend upon the Dragon Palace and destroy it with a wave of his hand. Not long after the Dragon Palace released this message, it attracted countless replies. Seeing this message, everyone felt that it was ridiculous. In the eyes of everyone in the Imperial Star region, the Dragon Palace and the Imperial Court were like ants and elephants. They weren't on the same level at all. Even though they had just found out that Dragon Palace was attacking the frontline planets of the Imperial Court, they still found this declaration of war laughable. The frontline was because the Imperial Court and the Night Race's Arch Knight had entered the abyss to hunt the abyssal demons. Maybe the Imperial Court and the Night God Tharch would have already destroyed the Dragon Palace. The Night Race might have already destroyed it without the Imperial Court's help. A few days ago, the Night God Tharch had killed the Dragon King's disciple, and the Dragon King didn't even dare to fart. Provoking the Imperial Court, what a joke! They didn't even dare to be arrogant in front of the Night God Tharch, let alone the Imperial Court. Hee. The people from the Ninth Cloud sect looked at the comments below with mocking expressions. The entire Imperial Star region didn't know what was going on here. Ancestor, why don't we spread the news? I really want to see the Imperial Star region's reaction. At this moment, an expert from the Ninth Cloud sect said with a smile. That's good too. Let's make it clear that we have nothing to do with this battle. The ancestor of the Ninth Cloud sect thought for a moment and nodded. After all, the Chasm battlefield incident was too shocking. They could already predict that the entire Imperial Star region would be shaken. Damn Dragon Palace. How dare they provoke the Imperial Court and attack our frontline planets while the Night Race and the Imperial Court aren't here? How many lives do they have? I thought that Dragon Palace wasn't bad, but now they're provoking us. We can't let them live. At the same time, in front of the Chasm battlefield at the border of Pingy Island and the Imperial Court, dozens of Imperial Court protectors gathered in a vast palace. It could be said that all the peak divine kings of the Imperial Court were here. The old protector holding a walking stick roared with a murderous look on his face. This old man was the peak divine king protector from the selection of princes and princesses. He was also a prince. Tiger, don't be angry. It's just a small dragon palace. They took advantage of the war in the Chasm battlefield. Our experts and the Night Race's Arch Knight God all entered the Chasm battlefield. That's why Dragon Palace succeeded. After the Arch Knight God and the others came out, we didn't even need to do anything. We could just hand them over to the Night Race. An old man next to him said calmly, "Humph, if the teleportation formation wasn't destroyed, I would have brought people to kill them before the war broke out. A small dragon king dares to be so arrogant? The old protector holding the walking stick snorted coldly. Dragon Palace is just a small ant. The main battle here is still the war. Leave them to the night race, don't be distracted. Another old man next to him said with a smile. No matter what, we can't contact one of our guardians. He must have been assassinated by the Dragon Palace. This crime is enough to exterminate the entire clan of the Dragon Palace. After this battle, issue a kill order. All forces, planets, and people related to the Dragon Palace will be annihilated. A burly old man in the center said coldly. That's right. It's been hundreds of millions of years since anyone dared to provoke our imperial court. It's time to let the other forces in the Imperial Star region know the consequences of offending us. The surrounding old men nodded in agreement. Huh, not good. Look at the AI. Suddenly, an old man's eyes widened, and his body trembled as he stood up and roared. Chapter 2781. What? One of the Imperial Court's protectors exclaimed in shock, causing everyone around to be stunned as they looked at him in shock. Cough, 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 cough. How is this possible? How is this possible? The old man stood there and ignored them. He stared at the computer in his hand in disbelief, and his expression kept changing. What's wrong, Elder Fei? One of the protectors couldn't help but ask. The other protectors frowned, and immediately turned on the computer in their hands. Emperor Night God has fallen. Dragon Palace killed Emperor Night God. Dragon Palace has Void God Emperor level cultivators. The moment he turned on the computer, he saw all sorts of similar headlines. There was also a lot of information in his communication device. The Imperial Court protectors were stunned when they saw these titles. Their eyes widened as a bad premonition surged in their hearts. Look at the announcement from Nine Heavens Sect and Heaven Breaking Sect. At this moment, the expression of the old man who spoke first changed as he growled in a low voice. The group of Imperial Court protectors immediately searched for information on Nine Heaven Shattering Heavens and the others. After opening it, they saw an announcement. Emperor Night God has fallen. The experts of Imperial Court and Night Clan on Cold Night Island have all been killed by Dragon Palace. Nine Heavens Sect did not participate in this matter. We are willing to fight for humanity, but we will not participate in internal conflicts. It was a line of words but also a statement. Nine Heavens Breaking Sect's forces were sandwiched between Dragon Palace and Imperial Court. They didn't dare to make a choice. They could only make a statement to express their neutrality. But when the Imperial Dynasty's protectors saw this announcement, all of them shuddered. Nine Heavens Sect and Heaven Breaking Sect couldn't just make a statement like that. Their statement meant that the information was true. This caused the protectors' expressions to turn extremely ugly. At the same time, their eyes were filled with deep shock. Emperor Night God had fallen. Even though Emperor Night God had just become an Emperor God, he was still an Emperor God. Now he had fallen. How long had it been since an Emperor God had fallen in the Imperial Star region? This made their scalps go numb. And under the statement from Nine Heavens Breaking Sect and Heaven Breaking Sect, the number of comments increased by 100 million every second. Everyone felt that it was inconceivable, so they were all very shocked. A few days ago, the Night God Emperor had appeared and suppressed the entire Imperial Star region. How long had it been? He actually died. Moreover, did the Dragon Palace have the power to destroy the Night God Emperor? How could a small Dragon Palace have such an ability? Many people couldn't believe it. But after all, it was a statement from two great sections. The continent of the Nine Clouds was very famous in the Imperial Star region. They couldn't joke about a God Emperor. They didn't dare. This stunned everyone in the Imperial Star region. Just now, countless people in the Imperial Star region had mocked the Dragon Palace for courting death. Now it was a naked slap in the face. There were also some comments below the two sects that caught their attention. The Dragon Palace is very powerful. They have close to 300,000 Immortal King experts. They have a powerful array master, who can make arrays that can resist God Emperor experts. In terms of power, the Dragon Palace has two God Emperor experts, close to 300,000 Immortal King experts, and that giant thing that flew out from the deep abyss. It's the Dragon King's subordinates, God Emperor subordinates. The Dragon Palace is too terrifying. The Imperial Court, the Night Clan, and the Sky Demon sect were all destroyed by the Dragon Palace. Not a single one was left alive. A battle between God Emperors. I saw it with my own eyes. The entire deep abyss is reigning after the Night God Emperor died. The comments were obviously from Nine Heavens Breaking Sect, and the experts and disciples of the other forces. Open the highest authority of the AI. Contact an ancestor of the Nine Clouds sect. At this moment, a protector of the Imperial Court roared with a gloomy expression. Open the highest authority. Contact an ancestor of the Nine Clouds sect. The AI's voice rang out. All the Imperial Dynasty protectors walked over with interesting expressions on their faces. The death of the Night God Emperor, and the strength of the Dragon Palace. If it was all true, they couldn't imagine the consequences. Buzz. At the same time, in the void, an incomparably huge group of people was flying majestically. Their leader was an expert from the Nine Heavens Great Sect, the Heaven-Shattering Sect. In the abyss, a group of abyssal species was approaching the entrance under the lead of an emperor god. They knew that they couldn't stay here for long. However, the intelligence system on the wrist of the elder at the very front suddenly lit up, forcefully displaying an image. The ancestor of the Nine Clouds sect was shocked as he stared at the image displayed by the AI. I'm a protector of the Imperial Court. I have something to ask you. An old man appeared in the image. Beside him, there were dozens of others. The voice was heard, and Ancestor Nine Heavens' expression changed. He waved his arm and everyone stopped. Protectors of the Imperial Court, what can I do for you? Ancestor Nine Heavens asked respectfully. Tell me everything that happened in the Deep Abyss battlefield. Don't leave anything out and don't lie. If you do, you know the consequences. The protector of the Imperial Court asked with an expressionless face. Yes, protectors. What I'm about to say is the truth. I dare not hide anything. Ancestor Nine Heavens said quickly. Then he told them everything that happened in the Deep Abyss battlefield. Hearing what Ancestor Nine Heavens said, the protectors of the Imperial Court fell silent. After that, the image on the AI disappeared. Ancestor, something big is going to happen. The experts of the Nine Heavens Great Sect watched as the screen disappeared. They were shocked and said, What? Something big is going to happen. I hope we won't be dragged into it. Ancestor Nine Heavens nodded and said helplessly. He knew how terrifying it would be when the protectors didn't say a word. At this moment, within the vast palace, the group of Imperial Dynasty protectors stood there and panted heavily. Each and every one of them had an ugly expression on their faces. Let's report this to the Great Ancestor. This is no longer something we can decide. After a few minutes of silence, one of the Imperial Court's protectors said, The rest of the protectors nodded. They didn't roar in anger or scold the Dragon Palace, because it was completely useless. Moreover, the strength that the Dragon Palace had displayed shocked them. It could be said that they had the combat strength of two emperor gods. This matter was no longer something that the protectors could decide. However, they knew how troublesome this matter was for the Imperial Court. Chapter 2782. Hong. In front of the Abyss battlefield at the border of Pingy Island and Imperial Court. In a void crevice at the back of the battlefield, a shrine was hidden within. All of a sudden, the entire palace trembled. Looking in that direction, one could see cracks appearing in the void. Long cracks appeared in the entire sky. A terrifying pressure was emitted from within. The shrine was shrouded in clouds and mist. 3 vast figures sat on 3 thrones floating in the air. At the front, dozens of Imperial Dynasty protectors bowed respectfully. Their faces were slightly pale. The rumble just now came from a great ancestor of Imperial Court, slamming his palm on the thrones angrily. This caused the group of Imperial Court protectors to hold their breaths. Emperor Knight has fallen. That Dragon Palace also has the fighting power of an Emperor God. If I'm not wrong, the huge creature that flew out from the abyss is one of the giant beast system. A vast figure looked at the furious old man in the middle and said, Emperor Knight has fallen. It's going to be dangerous. We have to send someone over to Cold Night Island. Otherwise, the abyss will expand deep into our Imperial Court. The vast figure on the right said solemnly. That dragon palace might be in cahoots with that woman from the giant beast system. Coupled with the battle of an emperor god from Dragon Palace, we will be in danger. The vast figure in the center roared in a low voice as he suppressed his anger. Their imperial court had 3 emperor god experts on the surface. However, they had one more in the dark. Originally, they were prepared to make a sudden move on this side of the battlefield. In a 4-on-3 situation, they could kill 80% of the Abyss species. But now that Emperor Knight had fallen and Dragon Palace had teamed up with the giant beast system, it became a 4-on-4 situation. Another point was that they couldn't just ignore Cold Night Island. At the very least, they had to send an Emperor God over. 3-on-4. In such a situation, if they couldn't hold back the Void God Emperor, their imperial court would suffer heavy losses. Bring all the resources of Dragon Palace over. The vast figure on the left said. Yes, great ancestor. A protector answered immediately. He waved his arm and information appeared in front of the 3 emperor gods. Great ancestor, seeing the development of the Dragon Palace, I feel that it is a little unbelievable. Their growth speed is simply terrifying. The protector couldn't help but ask. From the information they obtained, the Dragon Palace had developed to such a level in less than 6 years, from a weak organization that only had a few god kings. This was simply a fantasy story. However, the information that the imperial court found in the Imperial Star region wouldn't be wrong. This Dragon Palace is growing at the same speed as that woman. Extremely fast and terrifying. The 3 emperor gods narrowed their eyes when they saw the information regarding the Dragon Palace, and one of them said in a deep voice, back then, the imperial court chased after that woman, and in just a few years, that woman brought disaster to the imperial court. The development of the Dragon Palace was no slower than that woman. It was obvious that Dragon Palace and that woman knew each other. Say, do you think it's possible that they're the reincarnation of some powerful existence after their death? The massive figure on the right frowned, feeling uneasy. That woman and the Dragon Palace had risen too fast. So fast that they were terrified. Even god emperors like them felt fearful. This kind of speed of improvement, they could only think of it as the result of some terrifying existence recultivating with a drop of blood. Furthermore, it wasn't just one expert but many. Such an enemy was extremely terrifying. The elder's words made the other 2 massive figures grip their thrones tightly. They felt uneasy. Then, great ancestor, what should we do? A hint of fear flashed through the eyes of the imperial court's protectors as they asked. It's hard to say if it's a powerful existence recultivating with a drop of blood, but it won't be that easy to deal with the imperial court. The massive figure on the left said with a cold expression. The protectors were shocked, and their expressions kept changing. From what the great ancestor and the others said, they couldn't do anything about the Dragon Palace and the current situation. Maintain the current situation for now. After a long silence, the emperor god in the center said helplessly, the situation was already out of control for them. Great ancestor, why don't we ask the Dragon Palace and the giant beast department? What are they trying to do? One of the imperial court protectors said with a changing expression. His words caused the surrounding protectors to look over, and the 3 vast figures also slightly paused. Ask the Dragon Palace and the giant beast department what they were trying to do? They were showing weakness to them and asking for peace. Humph, no need. They killed so many of our disciples. If we ask for peace, how would we be able to face them? If they really piss us off, what can the giant beast department and the Dragon Palace do? The massive figure in the center shouted coldly. Yes, yes. The protector immediately nodded and replied. Maintain the status quo and retreat. The cold voice made the group of protectors retreat outside hurriedly. There's still a hidden danger. How should we deal with them next? The figure on the left said slowly after the protectors left. Continue to get people to investigate the Dragon Palace. Get all the details. An expert recultivating with a drop of blood shouldn't appear here. We're too far away from the 10,000 races. The figure on the right said. Even if he's not a terrifying existence recultivating with a drop of blood, he's still an inheritor of a heaven-defying treasure. The figure on the left couldn't help but say again. Then what should we do? Beg for mercy. The figure on the left was slightly enraged. Our imperial court has been in the Imperial Star region for more than 500 million years. We're not that easy to bully. If we really fight, we'll definitely win. The figure in the center suddenly stood up and disappeared. The two figures on the left and right looked at each other, nodded slightly and left. They didn't have any way to deal with the current situation. Kill their way over and destroy the Dragon Palace? Not to mention whether they would escape or not. Once they left, the Imperial Court's territory would turn into an abyss. Once it turned into an abyss, it would be the main battlefield of the Abyss species and the Giant Beast Department. Now they could only wait for all the favorable news. Or they could maintain a tacit balance between the two sides. As for asking for peace, the Imperial Court definitely wouldn't do that. Because they were the Imperial Court, the kings of this region. They had their own glory and radiance. The Imperial Court that had stood for hundreds of millions of years. How could they be so easy to deal with? However, they also felt a sense of urgency and danger, like a sword hanging on a beam. Chapter 2783. Woo Woo. Dragon King. Dragon King. At the same time, Wuxia arrived at the planet where the Dragon Palace was located through the teleportation array and little mansion. Next to it, the towering Dragon Peak towered there. Seeing the arrival of Dragon Palace, the group of Dragon Palace members greeted respectfully. Let's go back to the Dragon Palace first. Wuxia nodded at them and patted Little Mansion's head. Let's go and take a look at your future home. Woo Woo. Little Mansion nodded slightly and flew towards the Dragon Palace. With a thought, Wuxia led Little Mansion in. Feeling the energy within, Little Mansion could not help but cheer. Prime Minister Turtle, send someone to bring all the dragon blood in the dragon transformation pool for me to consume. He turned to Prime Minister Turtle and ordered. Yes, Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle replied. Also call all the leaders over and tell them to bring all the resources we have obtained this time. Wuxia ordered again. Yes. Arriving at the Dragon King Hall, the leaders of Dragon Palace, Tianjun and the rest walked in quickly. Greetings, Dragon King. Everyone's faces were filled with excitement as they bowed respectfully. Tell me, how are the rewards from this battle? Wuxia waved his hand and asked with a smile. Dragon King, we have gained a lot from this battle. 1 Void God Kingdom, 1 God Emperor Corpse, 11 Immortal King Corpses, 65 Ninth Order God King Corpses, and about 140,000 God King Corpses. In addition, Dujio obtained 3 Ninth Order God King Abyssal Species Corpses and over 10,000 God King Corpses. In addition, all the resources combined should be comparable to 3 to 4 Pinnacle God King Corpses. Prime Minister Turtle replied with a smile. Dragon King, that can I continue to improve? Tianjun could not help but ask excitedly. Yes. Wuxia smiled as he sat there. Tianjun had contributed greatly to this battle. Moreover, after the Heavenly Array was upgraded, it would not be a simple upgrade. Once the Heavenly Array was upgraded, it would be able to exterminate a First Order God Emperor realm existence. With sufficient preparation, he could even eliminate 2 or 3 of them. However, Longfeng's strength had reached the upper limit. Unless there was a God Emperor realm divine tree as a base, the Heavenly Array wouldn't be able to create something that could kill 3 First Order God Emperor realm brambles. However, we still have some things to do. We have to go into the abyss, said Wuxia. It's Dragon King. Tianjun nodded his head slightly. He knew that he still had some matters to attend to. With the current situation, we don't know how the Imperial Court will react. Everyone don't level up for now. Everyone get ready. Once the Imperial Court God Emperor comes, immediately escape into the abyss. Wuxia continued to instruct. It's Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle and the others nodded. No one knew how the Imperial Court would react, but the Dragon Palace had to be prepared. Heavenly Array Earth cultivators, follow me into the abyss. Wuxia stood up immediately and said to him. Yes. Tucson and Heavenly Formation immediately responded. Otaku. Wuxia shouted, and the 3 of them came to the front of the house. Woo Woo. Xiaozhai stuck out his tongue with excitement in his eyes. He wanted to ask for food. No more. I'll give you more in the future. Take us to your master. Wang Xian patted on Xiao Zhai and said to him, Wu Wu. Xiao Zhai answered immediately, Xiao Xian, we'll go with you. At this time, the girls who received the news flew over and said to Wang Xian, let's go. Wang Xian looked at them and nodded his head. I wonder how Qingyue has been over the past few years. TSK, that bad guy from the imperial court, will annihilate them in the future. That's right. They left Qingyue alone in the abyss for several years. We don't even know where Lingxiu is now. The girls said angrily as they came to the top of Xiao Zhai's head. Let's go. Qingyue is fine, and so will Lingxiu. She still has the Earth Divine Dragon to protect her. Wang Xian comforted the girls. When Tuzhe had obtained the Divine Dragon Soul, he had sensed that something was amiss. However, he hadn't been willing to give up his Divine Dragon body. Later on, he met Qingyue and the rest. Qingyue could sense his Divine Dragon body. During the pursuit, Tucson was almost annihilated. His body collapsed, and Qingyue separated his body. One was a Divine Dragon body, and the other was similar to Kuan's. The Earth Divine Dragon's body was separated from them, along with Lingxiu. All of this was caused by the Imperial Court. The Dragon Palace would take revenge soon. Woo woo. Xiao Zhai flew out of the Dragon Palace and let out a low growl. A black hole appeared in front of him, and he dived into it. Wang. In the next moment, they arrived at a faraway place. Xiao Zhai flew at full speed, and soon entered the abyss. Woo woo. Xiao Zhai was like a king when he entered the abyss. He exuded the aura of a void god emperor. Some abyss species in the abyss immediately prostrated themselves and didn't dare to move. Some of the characteristics of Kuan were similar to the abyss species. I'll be able to see Qingyue in a few hours. Wang Xian murmured with anticipation in his eyes. As the saying goes, absence makes the heart grow fonder. They had been separated for about 7 years. They had never been apart for so long. While Wang Xian and the rest were flying towards Lan Qingyue under the lead of Xiao Zhai, the Imperial Star Domain was still in an uproar. What's going on? It's been a few hours, and there's no response from the Imperial Court? I heard that 5 guardians of the Imperial Court were killed by the Dragon Palace, and the remaining disciples were tens of millions. Why isn't the Imperial Court responding? Oh yes, what's going on? There's no response from the Imperial Court. Could it be that they're afraid of the Dragon Palace? That's possible. After all, the Abyss War has broken out. Now that the Dragon Palace has appeared, the Imperial Court might not have the time to deal with it. I heard that the Abyss on the Cold Night Island is devouring the void crazily. The Night Clan has also fallen because of the Dragon Palace. Almost all their pinnacle experts have been killed. Countless people were discussing on the AI. They were shocked that the Imperial Court didn't respond in the past few hours. At the same time, they were filled with sympathy for the Night Clan, and some were mocking them. Our Imperial Court doesn't do anything. Once we do, we will definitely destroy them. So what if there are 2 Void God Emperors in the Dragon Palace? We have been standing in this void for more than 600 million years. How can a Dragon Palace go against us? To deal with external threats, we must first settle our internal affairs. All of you just watch. It won't be long before our Imperial Court destroys the Dragon Palace. So what if there are 2 Void God Emperors? Very soon, the Dragon Palace will become stray dogs. However, to the disciples of the Imperial Court and the people in the Imperial Court's territory, the Imperial Court didn't do anything because they were preparing. Once they did, they would definitely destroy the Dragon Palace. Chapter 2784. The artificial intelligence system was full of discussions. The disciples of the Imperial Court firmly believed that the Imperial Court was invincible, and that the Dragon Palace would be destroyed soon. Many people supported this view, but many didn't agree. To them, the Imperial Court was much stronger than the Dragon Palace, and had been in the Imperial Star region for more than 600 million years. Their foundation was unfathomable, but it was impossible to destroy the Dragon Palace. After all, the Dragon Palace had 2 God Emperor level experts. The entire Imperial Court only had 3 God Emperors. Even if they were stronger than the Dragon Palace, the chance of destroying the Dragon Palace was too small. The artificial intelligence system was full of arguments. The imperial court kept silent. It wasn't that they didn't want to erupt, but that they couldn't. Especially when they found out that the Dragon Palace was related to that woman from the Giant Beast clan. The imperial court couldn't do anything. They could attack the Dragon Palace on the Demon Island, but they would also be attacked by the Giant Beast clan. It was hard to say who would lose more. The imperial court didn't want to see such a situation. But 5 hours later, the imperial court made a statement. The Dragon Palace is in cahoots with the God Emperor and the Abyss species. The Giant Beast clan is from the Dragon Palace. This news shook the entire Imperial Star region. The Dragon Palace is in cahoots with the God Emperor of the Abyss? They are in cahoots with the Abyss species? Is this for real? The Dragon Palace is the enemy of humanity, the enemy of the entire Imperial Star region. Destroy the Dragon Palace, destroy them. No wonder the Imperial Court didn't destroy the Dragon Palace. They are in cahoots with the Abyss species. They are traitors of humanity. Destroy the Dragon Palace. On the smart brain, some people didn't believe it, but the humans within the Imperial Dynasty territory did believe it. Apart from that, someone from the Nine Heavens Breaking sect also said that a God Emperor level giant flew over from the Abyss and was a subordinate of the Dragon King. Being able to enter the Abyss and ally with the Abyss species meant that the Dragon Palace was a traitor of humanity. More and more people on the artificial intelligence system shouted that they wanted to destroy the Dragon Palace and the Dragon King. Even the experts from the Nine Heavens Breaking sect were shocked by the Imperial Court's statement. Imperial Court's statement might be true, but they also knew how many abyssal species the Dragon Palace had killed. The Dragon Palace was the leader of the hero ranking and the faction merit ranking. Why did they hunt the Abyss species that were on the same side as them? Or kill a peak God King realm Abyss species? This was very suspicious. Things might not be that simple. However, although there were all sorts of suspicions, the artificial intelligence system, under the intentional guidance of the Imperial Court, caused the Dragon Palace to become an existence that everyone hated. Filled with righteous indignation, everyone declared that they would destroy the Dragon Palace. He supported the Imperial Court's God Emperor experts to kill the traitors of the human race. After all, it was the Dragon Palace that brought war to them. Dragon King were almost there. Wang Xian and the rest did not know about the information on the artificial intelligence. Even if he knew, he wouldn't care. The brain belonged to the Imperial Dynasty, and they could say whatever they wanted. Dragon Palace couldn't retort at all. The Tisonian stared ahead and said to Wang Xian, "Are we almost there?" Wang Xian stood up and stared ahead with anticipation in his eyes. "That is the Sea of Abyss?" Wang Xian stared ahead, and a vast ocean appeared in his line of sight. How big was this ocean? He couldn't see its boundaries and couldn't sense its boundaries. "Yes, Dragon King. We call it the Sea of Abyss. The entire Sea of Abyss is huge. Even Xiaolan can swim in it for a few hours," said the Tisonian with a smile. Wang Xian nodded and stared ahead. Woo woo woo. When Xiaozhai got closer, he let out a long roar that reverberated towards the depths of the Sea of Abyss. Woo woo woo. Dozens of seconds later, a response was heard. Wang Xian stared ahead. He could sense a familiar aura getting closer and closer to him. Woo woo. 5 minutes later, a humongous figure appeared in their sight. Above that humongous figure stood a beautiful figure. Looking at that figure, Wang Xian was overwhelmed with excitement. "Qingwei! Qingwei!" Xu Qing and the rest shouted excitedly from the side. Lan Qingyue extended her hand and waved in their direction. "Qingwei!" As they got closer, the group of girls flew over and hugged Lan Qingyue when Xiaozhai and Xiaolan stopped. "Qingwei! Sisters, we meet again." The group of girls hugged each other with reddened eyes. It had been 7 years. It had been 7 years since Lan Qingyue, Sun Lingxiu, and Xiaolan went missing to hold back the thunderclap god. If it weren't for Lan Qingyue and the rest, they would have been dead. The group of girls were exceptionally grateful to Lan Qingyue. "Move aside, let me hug you." Wang Xian walked over and said with a smile as he looked at the girls hugging each other. "Xiao Xian." The group of girls laughed. Lan Qingyue looked at Wang Xian with sparkling eyes. Come on, let your husband hug you. Wang Xian smiled, walked over and hugged her shoulders. Xiao Xian, I didn't take good care of Lingxiu. Alright. I know what happened to Lingxiu. Let's go look for her. I can sense that she's safe now. Lan Qingyue spoke with reddened eyes, but was interrupted by Wang Xian. It's been hard on you for the past 7 years. Wang Xian said slowly as he patted Lan Qingyue's shoulders. It's nothing. I just miss you a little. Lan Qingyue said softly. Hee. Wang Xian smiled and patted her head. Leave the future to me. I'm already very powerful now. Lan Qingyue lifted her head slightly and said confidently. Who would have thought that a goddess who owned 2 god emperor level pets would be like this? Alright, our Qingyue is very powerful. Wang Xian nodded with a smile. Let's go to the palace in Xiaolan's body. We still have some matters to settle. Lan Qingyue said with a smile. Let's go. Wang Xian nodded, and the group flew to Xiaolan's mouth immediately. Woo. When Xiaolan saw Wang Xian, it let out an excited roar. Hee. Wang Xian patted it and entered the palace in its body. Xiaolan, which was over 100 kilometers in size, was equivalent to a small town in its body. Xiao Xian, Lingxiu was separated from me because of the experts of the imperial court. I don't know where she is now. I must take revenge. Lan Qingyue came to the palace and exuded a murderous aura. After a few years of pursuit, and a few moments of life and death, Lingxiu's whereabouts were unknown. Lan Qingyue had to take revenge. After 7 years of adulthood, she had grown into a decisive ancient god Kuan breeder, who could take charge of an area. Chapter 2785. Qingyue, what's the situation on your side? In the palace within Xiaolan, Wang Xian looked at Lan Qingyue with heartache and asked. Xiao Xian, we have the upper hand. I don't know how many god emperors there are in the imperial court, but we can attack and defend with the Abyss main battlefield. We have 18 peak immortal king experts, and over 20 billion Abyss species. Xiaolan is comparable to a second-order void god emperor, and Xiaozhai is a first-order void god emperor. Given our strength, we are not a match for the imperial court. But we have an emperor god realm Abyss species here. We have formed an alliance, and it has a lot of subordinates. There are dozens of peak immortal king level Abyss species, and hundreds of billions of members. This attack on the imperial court was initiated by it. That's why we joined in. Lan Qingyue said to Wang Xian. Qingyue, your forces are not weak either. Wang Xian sighed when he heard her. 18 peak immortal king subordinates. That's a lot more than the current Dragon Palace. It's alright. I have an agreement with that Abyss species to attack the Imperial Court's frontline 5 days later. The Imperial Court is already prepared. Lan Qingyue smiled. 5 days later? Can you delay it for half a month? In half a month, the Dragon Palace can improve tremendously. Wang Xian's eyes flickered as he said. Half a month. Shouldn't be a problem. But I think Xiao Xian, the Dragon Palace doesn't need to participate. The battle this time will definitely be exceptionally tragic. My current subordinates are a group of abyssal species. They only obeyed orders because they were intimidated by Little Blue's pressure. They don't have high intelligence and only know how to kill. If they die, they die. Lan Qingyue frowned and said. Don't worry. The Dragon Palace will improve tremendously this time. By then, I will have the combat power of an Emperor God. Moreover, there will be another Emperor God in the Dragon Palace. Emperor Night God of the Night Clan has fallen. I think we can summon the Emperor God Abyss species from the Cold Night Island and launch a joint attack. Our Dragon Palace can launch a surprise attack, or we can kill our way to their base camp. Wang Xian smiled. That works too. Lan Qingyue nodded slightly. If there were 2 more God Emperor level existences during the war, it could almost change the situation of the war. Let's talk about the details later. Let me see if I can build a Dragon Palace in this Abyss Sea. If it is possible, it will be convenient. At that time, I can put the main Dragon Palace here. If it is not possible, I can only build a teleportation formation here. Wang Xian stood up, made a move and flew out. Lan Qingyue and the rest immediately followed behind. Ding! Build Dragon Palace? As he came to the sky above Xiaolan, The notification of the system sounded. Wang Xian's eyes lit up. He took out the materials and immediately built a dragon palace here. Haha! It will be much more convenient with this dragon palace. When Wang Xian saw the dragon palace that was completed, he was thrilled. Being able to build a dragon palace in the abyss meant that one could directly teleport from the abyss to other dragon palaces. In this case, if the main dragon palace were to be moved here, Wang Xian and the rest would be able to evade the crisis easily, even if the celestial emperor of the imperial court were to launch a surprise attack on the dragon palace on the demon island. Even protecting the North River sect and the Moon sect wouldn't be a problem at all. Let's go back to the main dragon palace first, Wang Xian said to one of them. Let's go, Qingyue. Let's go home. The group of girls immediately entered the dragon palace and teleported to the main dragon palace through the teleportation formation. Lan Qingyue looked at the familiar dragon palace with a smile. Wang. After entering the main dragon palace, Lan Qingyue looked around. Let's go, Qingyue. The dragon palace has been upgraded while you were away. Let's bring you around. The group of girls crowded around Lan Qingyue and said immediately, Don't be in such a hurry. I'll accompany Qingyue first. Cough cough. You guys can come over too. Wang Xian coughed and immediately flew towards the Dragon King Palace with Lan Qingyue. As for what they were going to do, of course they were going to do it. The group of girls rolled their eyes at her and didn't say anything. After all, it had been 7 years. A few hours later, Wang Xian flew out of the bedroom above the Dragon King Palace comfortably. His face was glowing. Lan Qingyue followed behind with a smile. Prime Minister Turtle, control the Dragon Palace and fly into the abyss immediately. Inform the Moon sects to stay on the planets with Dragon Palaces. If they are attacked by the experts of the Imperial Court, enter the Dragon Palace and teleport them to the main Dragon Palace. Wang Xian immediately ordered Prime Minister Turtle when he arrived at the Dragon King Palace. Yes, Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle nodded and responded immediately. The rest of the experts of the Dragon Palace, come to the Dragon Transformation Pool. Wang Xian shouted, and his voice reverberated throughout the Dragon Palace. Yes, Dragon King. All the members of the Dragon Palace answered loudly. Wang Xian also moved and came to the Dragon Transformation Pool. The entire Dragon Transformation Pool was filled with dragon blood. The sacred dragon blood gave off a fragrance that made one want to devour it. Tianjun, get ready. I'm about to break through. Wang Xian said with a smile when he saw Tianjun. I'm finally going to break through. Tianjun's eyes were filled with excitement. After another breakthrough, he would regain the strength of an emperor god. Although he was still far from his peak, he was very close. All members of the Dragon Palace, according to Prime Minister Turtle's instructions, enter the Dragon Transformation Pool for improvement. Wang Xian looked across the members and said, Yes, Dragon King. All the members of the Dragon Palace answered immediately and flew towards the Dragon Transformation Pool. The entire Dragon Transformation Pool contained the resources for this war. The corpse of Emperor Knight could help Tianjun raise his strength to the Emperor God level. 10 Immortal King corpses could help Wang Xian possess the strength of an Emperor God. In addition to the resources, the Dragon Palace could produce another 6 Immortal King Realm experts and 65 Ninth Order God King Realm experts. After all the members of the Dragon Palace were upgraded, the number of God King Realm experts in the Dragon Palace could reach 350,000. Currently, there were only about 400,000 members in the Dragon Palace. Even with the addition of AOC's Devouring Dragon, there were only slightly more than 500,000. A 90% chance of possessing the strength of a God King was already very strong. I'll leave the matters of the Dragon Palace to you guys. As Wang Xian spoke, he leaped into the Dragon Transformation Pool. Yes, Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle and the rest answered immediately. Roar! Roar! With a roar, Wang Xian turned into a 7-colored divine dragon and landed in the middle of the Dragon Transformation Pool. At the side, Tianjun also entered the pool. Hundreds of thousands of members of the Dragon Palace also entered the pool to improve themselves. Half a month later, the strength of the Dragon Palace would be earth-shattering. Chapter 2786. Boom! Boom! Located in the center of Demon Island, the gigantic Dragon Palace flew out from a star sea and headed towards the abyss. Although the Dragon Palace was not as fast as Xiaozhai, it was not slow either. At full speed, it should be able to reach the Abyss Sea in 2 days. Long Feng followed behind. The Dragon Palace's flight attracted a lot of attention. On the Demon Island, although Jiu Xiaotian and Yu were the main force, there were still many ordinary people on the planets. There were also many spies from the Imperial Court. The majestic Dragon Palace and Dragon Peak attracted the attention of many experts. Many people were surprised that the Dragon Palace was flying towards the abyss. This also confirmed the fact that the Dragon Palace was connected to the Abyss Divine Emperor. This matter was transmitted to the artificial intelligence system and attracted the attention of the entire Imperial Star Domain. Countless people scolded the Dragon Palace for being a traitor to humanity and said that it deserved to die. They hoped that the Imperial Court would take action as soon as possible to destroy the Dragon Palace. The artificial intelligence system was full of scoldings against the Dragon Palace. At first, there were some who spoke up for the Dragon Palace, but they all disappeared. Although the artificial intelligence system was scolding the Dragon Palace and asking the Imperial Court to destroy it, the Imperial Court did not respond. It was not that they did not want to destroy the Dragon Palace, but that they did not have the strength to do so. Time passed. 2 days later, the Dragon Palace arrived at the Abyss Sea. In the next few days, Wang Xian and the rest continued to improve their strength in the Dragon Transformation Pool. In the Dragon Palace, Lan Qingwen and Prime Minister Turtle were planning the next battle. The entire Imperial Star Domain was in peace for the next few days. This was the calm before the big battle. The artificial intelligence system was bustling with activity every moment. But to many people's regret, the Imperial Court still did not take action and did not destroy the Dragon Palace. Especially for the Night Clan. Countless people from the Night Clan asked the Imperial Court to send troops to destroy the Dragon Palace. Currently, the entire Night Clan only had one peak God King overseeing it. Compared to when they were at their peak, there was a huge difference. The birth of the Night God Emperor did not bring them to another peak. Instead, they fell to the bottom. Moreover, they had to be wary of the Dragon Palace at all times. What would they do if the Dragon Palace experts attacked? Great Ancestor, we found a piece of information. At this moment, more than 20 protectors of the Imperial Court stood in the void-cracked Divine Palace, in front of the Pingy Abyss, and reported to the 4 majestic figures in front of them. This time, all the God Emperors of the Imperial Court were here. Speak, for vast figures leaned on their thrones and asked with unsightly expressions. They were well aware of the current situation. Great Ancestor, according to our detailed investigation over the past few days, we have discovered a problem. Be it the woman from the Almighty Beast system or the Dragon Palace, they both appeared in the small remote galaxy of the South Star system. Although that galaxy is small, it has a very famous place, the Emperor Fall Battlefield. One of the protectors in the middle bowed respectfully and said, "Emperor Fall Battlefield?" The 4 majestic figures sat up straight, looked at each other, and frowned slightly. They couldn't be more familiar with the Emperor's Fall Battlefield and the Battle of Emperor's Fall. The Battle of Emperor's Fall had taken place in the Imperial Star region, and the 4 of them had watched from afar. That vast battle had caused their hearts to palpitate. That terrifying array master from the Heavenly Sorcerer Domain had fought against the 5 Void God Emperors of the Success Sorcerer Association alone. He fought till the heavens and earth turned dark, killing countless experts of the Success Sorcerer Association before dying. As for the Sky Formation God Emperor who had died in battle, they also knew that they were absolutely no match for him. Even with all the power of the Imperial Court, they still weren't a match for him. After that battle, the Shaman Union, one of the top powers of the 7 major regions, had fallen to its current average standard. It's the Great Ancestor, the legendary existence from the Heavenly Shaman Domain in the Emperor Fall Battlefield. According to what we know, that woman and the Dragon Palace both appeared near the Emperor Fall Battlefield. Another very important point is that there's an extremely powerful formation master in the Dragon Palace. The reason why Emperor Knight was killed was because that formation master had set up a formation and gathered the power of a dozen peak god kings to unleash the power of a god emperor. According to our investigation, that formation master is called Sky Formation. He's always been in charge of the Dragon Peak of the Dragon Palace, and his position in the Dragon Palace seems to be very high. The Imperial Court Protector's eyes flashed as he said, "The heavenly formation of the Dragon Palace?" The four vast figures were slightly shocked, their eyes flashing. We also found out that the Formation Master has an extremely powerful formation ability. He can directly teleport the enormous Dragon Peak over a long distance, and the formation he set up is very difficult to shake. Also, we found out that the heavenly formation of the Dragon Palace used to form a wood-type formation, very similar to the formation that the Void God Emperor once set up in the heavenly shaman domain's wood world. The Imperial Court Protector said, waving his arm, and two images appeared. One was a picture of the star South Galaxy's dragon planet covered in green leaves, and the other was a picture of towering trees surrounded by green leaves. The two looked extremely similar. That formation master of the Dragon Palace used to be the Sky Formation God Emperor? One of the vast figures in the center stood up and said in shock, "It's very likely." The three massive figures at the side stood up as well, their eyes shining brightly. A former legendary God Emperor is actually still alive. How unexpected, but we have no grudges with him. Also, who are the Dragon King and that woman? One of the figures murmured, "Let's not talk about the identity of the Dragon Palace Dragon King and that woman. Just the Sky Formation God Emperor alone is not someone we can fight against at his peak." The vast figure on the right said slowly, "Isn't he still dead? Until now, he hasn't recovered to his peak. Let's not talk about the others. Just the Sky Formation God Emperor alone is a hanging sword. We have to get rid of him." The figure in the center sat down slowly, his eyes flashing. The Shaman Society could kill the Sky Formation God Emperor back then. They can do the same now, and conveniently. The three figures beside him also slowly sat down, their faces revealing cold expressions. Hehe. If the Shaman Society knew that the Sky Formation God Emperor isn't dead, they would definitely be so scared that they wouldn't be able to eat or sleep well. Moreover, the Sky Formation God Emperor has his own force now. The Shaman Society will definitely not let him grow fully. The four figures looked at each other, their faces revealing a faint smile. If we contact the Shaman Society, it might take 10 to 20 days. We just have to defend during this period. At that time, Dragon Palace, that woman will all die. Chapter 2787. Great Ancestor. Can we really kill them when the experts from the Witchcraft Alliance arrive? In the Divine Hall, the protectors of the Imperial Court asked the four great ancestors excitedly. As long as the experts from the Witchcraft Alliance arrive, they will all die. Cold smiles appeared on the faces of the four vast figures. The power of the Witchcraft Association was much stronger than that of the Imperial Court. Most importantly, every Emperor God of the Witchcraft Association was an extremely powerful array master. Each of them could fight against 2 or 3 people of the same level. Another thing was their strange and powerful array. Once a God Emperor from the Witchcraft Alliance locked onto you, they could find you even if you fled to the ends of the world. There was no way to escape. The God Emperors from the Witchcraft Alliance, including the 4 of them, would be close to 10. As for Dragon Palace and that woman, they would only have 5 Void God Emperors if they added in 2 more Abyss God Emperors. As long as the experts from the Witchcraft Alliance arrived, they could all be killed. Hehe. Thinking of this, the 4 great ancestors of the Imperial Court couldn't help but laugh. Great ancestor, I will bring people to the Heavenly Witchcraft region as soon as possible. One of the Imperial Court protectors said excitedly. We met the God Emperors from the Witchcraft Alliance and asked them to contact us. After all, we gave them timely news. They should thank us. The figure in the center said with a smile. Yes, great ancestor. The group of Imperial Court protectors shouted respectfully. Wang. The 4 gigantic figures immediately disappeared with smiles on their faces. The two of you head to the Heavenly Witchcraft region immediately and invite the experts from the Witchcraft Alliance. One of the Imperial Court protectors said immediately. Yes, Chief Protector. We might not even need to invite them. The experts from the Witchcraft Alliance will be here soon. Hehe, the group said with a smile. The Sky Array God Emperor from millions of years ago had revived and appeared in the Imperial Star Domain. If the Witchcraft Alliance knew about this, they would be shocked and rush over with all their might. They would kill the Sky Array God Emperor before he recovered to his peak. One had to know that the Witchcraft Union had regressed by hundreds of millions of years during the Battle of Emperor's Fall, and countless powerhouses had perished. We and some of our disciples have been feeling aggrieved for the past few days. A small dragon palace has killed so many of our experts and disciples. Now we can finally let them know the consequences of offending us. Ha ha ha. The Imperial Court protectors laughed heartily. The grievances in their hearts were finally released. Send someone to monitor the entire abyss immediately. Monitor the Dragon Palace and all forces related to the Dragon Palace. Immediately announce on the AI that we will destroy the Dragon Palace in a month at most. The Imperial Court's protector roared with a cold expression. Yes, the Imperial Court protectors replied with excitement in their eyes. Ha ha ha. The Imperial Court has announced that they will destroy the Dragon Palace within a month. The protector of Dragon Palace declared that he would destroy Dragon Palace within a month. The Imperial Court is finally going to make a move. Support the annihilation of the Dragon Palace and the Dragon King. Let them know the consequences of offending the Imperial Court. Kill the 9 clans. Don't let any of the forces related to the Dragon Palace go. Destroy them, ha ha ha. Are they finally going to make a move? No one can offend the Imperial Court. No one. I suggest we hang the head of the Dragon King up to let everyone know the consequences of offending the Imperial Court. An hour later, the Imperial Court released the news on the AI. When everyone saw the news, they were filled with excitement. It was especially so for those from the Imperial Court's territory. The Imperial Court was their faith. What happened to the Dragon Palace made them feel aggrieved. Now that the Imperial Court had finally announced that they would destroy the Dragon Palace within a month at most. This was inspiring. Many disciples of the Imperial Court were extremely excited. The AI was boiling with excitement. Everyone was looking forward to the upcoming battle against the Dragon Palace. They were looking forward to the Imperial Court's Emperor taking action a month later. The entire Imperial Star Domain was in an uproar. However, the Dragon Palace was quiet. Within the Dragon Transformation Pool, a boundless and majestic aura was constantly being emitted from it. At the center, a huge colorful body was coiled in the center. There was a miniature dragon shadow flickering on each dragon scale. His dragon body was slowly enlarging, and each dragon scale was becoming more and more resplendent. A pair of dragon horns shone with colorful radiance. Gradually, the colorful radiance covered Wang Xian's entire body. Ding! Congratulations to the host for leveling up to level 5 Immortal God King. Boom! At this moment, the system's voice sounded, following which, a majestic aura was emitted towards the surroundings. In the Dragon Transformation Pool, the rest of the members of the Dragon Palace opened their eyes and looked at the net in the center with respect. Congratulations, Dragon King! They prostrated themselves in the Dragon Transformation Pool and shouted respectfully. Swoosh! Wang Xian opened his eyes and swayed his huge dragon body as he circled above the Dragon Transformation Pool. He looked around and lifted his head slowly. Roar! From his body, an extremely powerful energy was emitted. He couldn't help but let out a roar. The colorful radiance gradually shrouded him, and only a blurry figure could be seen. Like a mysterious dragon, its head but not its tail. Name: Wang Xian race. Yin Yang 5 Elements Dragon, 1 with the Dragon level. Level 5 Immortal God King. 7th Transformation of Divine Dragon Transformation. Origin Source. 1545444/5000000000 Superpower. Dominate the marine animals. Rule any marine animals lower than your own level. Devour living beings. Extract origin source from living beings. 5 elements control cultivation technique. Divine Dragon Transformation Superpower. Soul Assimilation, Spirit Attachment, Yin-Yang 5 Elements Dragon. Eyes Laws. 5 Elements Grindstone, Dragon Country in the Palm, Dragon Head Descending, 10,000 Miles Dragon Body. Yin-Yang 2 Poles, Yin-Yang 5 Elements Bowl, Divine Dragon Tail Whip. Law of Substance. Metal, Wood, Water, Fire, Earth, Light and Darkness. 5th Transformation, God Kingdom. Dragon Palace Own Dragon Palace. Level 7 Dragon Palace Members. For 11042 Wuxia closed his eyes and revealed a smile as he looked at his attributes. 5th Order Immortal God King. 1st Order God Emperor Combat Power. Currently, Wuxia was standing at the peak of this dazzling starry sky. Whoosh! He slowly opened his dragon eyes and looked down. Dragon King, I still need a few more hours. Tianjin smiled and said to Wuxia. Wuxia nodded his head slightly and flew into the Dragon King Hall. Prime Minister Turtle Qingyu. He transformed into his human form and shouted, Dragon King, the Dragon Queen is outside the Dragon Palace. She should be here soon. Prime Minister Turtle rushed over and reported to Wuxia. All the upgrades should be completed today. How are your and Qingyu's preparations? Wuxia asked directly. Dragon King, we have decided on the time. We will attack tomorrow. Prime Minister Turtle replied immediately. Chapter 2788. Attack tomorrow? Alright. Wuxia's eyes shone as he nodded. Even if they couldn't wipe out the Imperial Court in the battle tomorrow, they would pay a heavy price. The price for hunting down Qingyue Lingxiu and wanting to wipe out Dragon Palace was starting to pay. Dragon King, 7 days ago, the Imperial Court made an announcement. At this moment, Prime Minister Turtle handed over a computer with downloaded information. Oh, Wuxia looked over and raised his eyebrows. The Imperial Court Protector announced that they would wipe out Dragon Palace in a month at most. It has been 8 days now. Logically speaking, with some information from the Imperial Court, they should know that we are related to the giant abyss beasts. However, they still made such an announcement. They should have some confidence in trump card. Prime Minister Turtle said. Wuxia's eyes shone as he looked at the announcement. With the Imperial Court's foundation in the Imperial Star Domain, all the information about Dragon Palace was already in the hands of the Imperial Court experts. They also knew the relationship between Dragon Palace and the giant abyss beasts. Now that Dragon Palace had come to the abyss and said that they would wipe them out, this was a little thought-provoking. How could they wipe out Dragon Palace? They could only rely on their strength. However, with the Imperial Court's strength, it was impossible for them to wipe out Dragon Palace. In fact, the Imperial Court was even weaker than them. With the Imperial Court's prestige, they couldn't possibly make empty promises. Otherwise, the entire Imperial Star Domain would laugh at them. The Imperial Court has been in the Imperial Star Domain for more than 600 million years. They might have a powerful trump card. Seems like we have to be careful in tomorrow's battle. Wuxia revealed a solemn expression. Indeed, we have to be more careful. According to this humble subject's deduction, the Imperial Court might not only have 3 Void God Emperors. Prime Minister Turtle said. Xiao Xian. At this moment, Lan Qingyue flew over and shouted at Wuxia. How is it, Qingyue? Are the 2 God Emperors from the dark magic system ready? Wuxia looked at her and asked. Yes, we're ready to attack tomorrow. Lan Qingyue nodded. Tell Xiao Lan to be careful. I feel like the Imperial Court still has a powerful trump card. Wuxia said. I saw the Imperial Court's announcement too. Lan Qingyue nodded her head. However, the attack this time had already begun more than 10 days ago. The 2 Void God Emperors of the Black Law System and the Deep Abyss Seed might have known that the Imperial Court was very strong. However, they did not care about the losses. It did not matter if those abyssal species died. If they brought the corpses over, it wouldn't take long for them to recover their vitality. If they won, the abyss would be able to expand, and they would be able to eat their fill. Since they couldn't care less, Lan Qingyue couldn't care less. Right now, the entire Imperial Court and the entire Imperial Star region want to destroy the Dragon Palace. Wuxia smiled faintly as he looked at the comments below the message on the artificial intelligence system. After all, the Imperial Court has been in the Imperial Star region for hundreds of millions of years, and their territory is the largest. Their numbers are immeasurable, so they naturally want to destroy the Dragon Palace. Lan Qingyue said. Wang Xian nodded his head slightly and browsed through some information on the artificial intelligence system. Boom! 2 hours later, a terrifying aura swept over. Wang Xian looked over and revealed a smile. Heavenly Formation, the former God Emperor. Lan Qingyue also looked over. She already had a good understanding of the sky formation. Swoosh! Dragon King, Dragon Queen. In the next moment, a strange and terrifying sky formation flew over and bowed to Wang Xian and Lan Qingyue with a smile. How is it? Wang Xian looked at the radiance circulating around his body and asked with a smile. Dragon King, with my current strength, I can easily deal with 2 or 3 people of the same level. The 9 heads of the sky formation were lifted and were filled with confidence. 2 or 3. Can you kill them? Wang Xian raised his eyebrows and asked after hearing it. It might be a little difficult to kill them, but I can restrain them. As the sky formation spoke, his body trembled slightly. Wang. Under the watchful eyes of Wang Xian and the rest, the body of the sky formation split into 3. All 3 of them looked extremely strange. 2 heads of the wind and thunder attributes formed a body. Heads of the 5 elements formed a body. Heads of the light and darkness attributes formed a body. Dragon King, I've been inspired by you. The 5 elements, yin, yang, darkness, and wind and thunder is 1. 3 bodies. Although our elemental senses are very weak, with such a combination, each of my bodies can fight against a first-order God Emperor. The sky formation said with slight pride. Oh, Wang Xian raised his eyebrows. After recovering his strength, the sky formation could fight against opponents 3 levels higher. With his current strength, he could even kill opponents 3 levels higher. Very strong. In that case, with the addition of Xiao Xian, our Dragon Palace has 4 Void God Emperors. Lan Qingyue's eyes lit up as she spoke. For Void God Emperors, this was a huge force. How many God Emperors were there in the entire Imperial Court? 4. With the addition of Xiao Lan and the 2 Black Laws, we have 8 Void God Emperors. I would like to see how many tricks the Imperial Court has up their sleeves. Wang Xian's eyes shone brightly. If the Imperial Court can't defend against our attack tomorrow, we will attack the vast palace in the center of the Imperial Court and chase them out of the Imperial Star domain. Lan Qingyue's eyes shone as she clenched her fists. All right, Wang Xian nodded his head heavily. He did not want to stay in this endless abyss. Dragon King, all the disciples have completed their advancement. At this moment, Prime Minister Turtle sent a message. Currently, our Dragon Palace has 16 Immortal King Realm experts, 129 Ninth Order God King Realm experts, and about 360,000 God King Realm experts. Prime Minister Turtle continued to report. In tomorrow's battle, we will launch a surprise attack. After the war starts, we will strike after the Imperial Court shows their strength. Wang Xian looked at Lan Qingyue and said, all right, we will catch them off guard. Even if the Imperial Court investigated the strength of the Dragon Palace, they would not expect the Dragon Palace to be comparable to 4 Void God Emperors. Lan Qingyue said with a smile, the time for revenge is here. She murmured softly. Wang Xian lifted his head as his eyes shone brightly. In his line of sight, in front of the Abyss Sea, there was a dense and endless army of abyssal creatures already lying on the ground. More than 20 billion Abyss demons, and 18 Immortal King Realm Abyss demons. These were Lan Qingyue's subordinates. Not far away, the number of abyssal species gathered there was even greater. Hundreds of billions of them. Looking at them from afar, one would tremble in fear. Chapter 2789. Wang. Alert! At that very moment, there was a voice at the front line between Pingy Island and Imperial Dynasty. In the middle, there was a huge warship that gave off a red light that spread to both sides. The alarm sounded, and everyone at the front line was shocked. They immediately raised their guard. According to our scouts, a large number of abyss species have gathered in the abyss. Get all disciples to be prepared. In the palace of the command center at the back of the center, many Imperial Dynasty protectors sat there. They looked at an image on the screen with a solemn expression. Those damn beasts. We will let them know how powerful we are in this battle. Humph. One of the protectors couldn't hold back his anger and scoffed coldly. Yes, let's give those beasts a huge blow. An Imperial Court protector added. Let's focus on defense. The real battle will be fought by us. Just then 5 to 6 old men walked in from the entrance. The leading old man smiled and said, Chief Protector. When the other Imperial Court protectors saw the old man in the lead, they immediately stood up and shouted, Great Ancestor and the rest have given the order. All battles will focus on defense. Chief Protector gestured for them to sit down and said calmly, Chief Protector, are we going to attack after the Witchcraft Association arrives? A protector asked. That's right. With our current strength, we won't have the upper hand against the Abyss species and Dragon Palace. However, it's different when the experts from the Witchcraft Association arrive. We have already contacted the Witchcraft Association, and they place great importance on this. I reckon we will be able to contact the Emperor God experts from the Witchcraft Association in a few days. Hehe, you don't have to worry about this. Once they attack, just focus on defense. Let the Abyss species and Dragon Palace be arrogant for a while. Soon they will be dead. Chief Protector said calmly, and his eyes were filled with coldness. Ha ha ha, let's let them be arrogant for a while more. If we just focus on defending, we won't suffer much loss. A protector laughed heartily and said in a carefree manner, Hehe, activate the defense system. It's okay to consume some resources. We will get back 10 times the amount. Chief Protector nodded. If we only block them, we can hold them off for 10 days to half a month. In 10 days to half a month, when the experts of the Witchcraft Association arrive, it will be time for us to slaughter them. The group of protectors at the side said with a smile. The nervous expressions on their faces had completely disappeared. In the past, the way they saw it, many protectors would definitely fall in this battle. But because of the appearance of the Dragon Palace, because of the appearance of that Sky Array God Emperor, it was possible that their losses would be reduced to the minimum. After all, the Completion Witch Association was so powerful. If they joined forces, it would be a piece of cake for them to fight against the Abyss species. Now, should we thank the Dragon Palace? What about Dragon King? An Imperial Court protector couldn't help but chuckle. The people around them heard it and smiled faintly. All right, everyone, don't let your guard down. Once the Abyss race army attacks, we still have to defend. The 4 great ancestors are also going to fight against the God Emperor level Abyss species. After all, they might have one more God Emperor level combat power than us. The Chief Guardian stood up and reminded everyone. Don't worry, Chief Guardian. We can defend against a God Emperor level God Emperor that was forcefully raised by an array. The rest of the protectors stood up and guaranteed with a relaxed expression. With the foundation of the Imperial Court, even if the 4 great ancestors didn't make a move, they had treasures to defend against a First-Order God Emperor. In fact, they wouldn't be afraid, even if there was another one. If they only focused on defense, they wouldn't be under much pressure. Everyone get ready. Get to your positions. Chief Guardian said indifferently, turned around and left. The Chief Guardian didn't care about the Abyss race, giant beasts, and even the Dragon Palace joining in the attack. If they only focused on defense, it would be easy for them. The situation at the front lines of the Pingy battlefield is tense. The first war might break out in a few days. The first clash between the Imperial Court and the entire Abyss is about to begin. Very soon, the news about the front lines spread through the intelligence system. The first war is about to break out in Pingy? No wonder the Imperial Court didn't destroy the Dragon Palace immediately. It turns out that a war is about to break out in Pingy. The entire Imperial Court has gathered all the forces in the Pingy Abyss. Hence, the Imperial Court doesn't have time to destroy the Dragon Palace. But once the situation here stabilizes, it will be the end of the Dragon Palace. The Imperial Court announced that they will destroy the Dragon Palace within a month. It seems like the Imperial Court is confident in stabilizing the battlefield here. Of course, our Imperial Court has been in the Imperial Star Field for more than 600 million years. How can the abyss threaten us? Pacify the abyss, destroy the Dragon Palace, restore peace. Pacify the abyss, destroy the Dragon Palace, restore peace. On the intelligence system, when everyone in the Imperial Star Field learned about the situation at the Pingy battlefield, countless people replied in an instant. In the end, the words pacify the abyss, destroy the Dragon Palace, restore peace flooded the screen. Moreover, everyone in the Imperial Court believed that the Imperial Court would soon achieve their goal. Pacify the abyss, destroy the Dragon Palace, and restore peace. All the enemies would be annihilated. Tomorrow, we will directly teleport to the center of the battlefield. I guess the Imperial Court will also expect our Dragon Palace to appear on the battlefield. They might have made sufficient preparations. Moreover, the Imperial Court's detection methods might have detected roving demon and the rest. It's alright. The Imperial Court doesn't know the exact strength of the Dragon Palace. In the Dragon Palace located in the Abyss Sea, Wang Xian, Lan Qingyue, Prime Minister Turtle, and the rest were discussing about the battle tomorrow. This was the largest battle since the establishment of the Dragon Palace. The number of creatures and humans involved in the battle reached hundreds of billions. Although it wasn't as large as the scenes that appeared during the inheritance, it was still large enough. Sometimes there was no right or wrong in war. It was just that the winner took all. We won't lose this battle. Wang Xian revealed a faint smile and said firmly at the end. Yes, Xiao Xian. We won't lose. After this battle, the Dragon Palace will get another upgrade. By then, our strength will be even more stable. Lan Qingyue nodded her head solemnly as her eyes were filled with determination. Woo 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 woo. A day passed by quickly. On the second day, a few majestic roars rang out. The war had begun. Chapter 2790. A woo woo woo. The roars reverberated throughout the abyss as the suppressive aura surged forward. Ga. Soon, countless roars reverberated in unison. It sounded like the roars of demons from the depths of the abyss, as though demons were breaking free from their cages. The roars were filled with madness and violence. All disciples of Dragon Palace, get ready! Within Dragon Palace, 360,000 God King members stood in front of the dragon field with weapons in their hands. They were filled with murderous intent. Yes, when the order was given, the group of Dragon Palace leaders led them out. Wang Xian was the leader, with Tianzhen standing one step behind him. After flying out of the Abyss Ocean, Wang Xian and the rest looked ahead. What they saw was a dense and endless horde of abyss species. Terrifying murderous aura surged around them. If a weak God King were to look at them directly, he would probably suffocate to death. This was not an army of thousands, but hundreds of billions of abyss species. Above them, there were 4 humongous existences with even more terrifying aura floating in the air. Xiaolan was over 100 kilometers in size. Xiaozhai was 70 to 80 kilometers in size. On the right, there were 2 equally terrifying existences. One of them had huge wings and was shrouded in flames. An abyss god emperor species surrounded by black flames stood up like a special bug. It was eerie and terrifying. It looked even scarier than the abyss god emperor species that was covered in flames. We are at the back. Wang Xian let out a soft cry and flew forward immediately. The group from Dragon Palace flew towards the back of the abyss species. Dragon Palace was not in charge of the main force for this battle. In the sky, the abyss species shrouded in black flames looked back and let out a deep roar. It then looked at Lan Qingyue, before turning to look ahead. Clearly, it knew about the existence of Dragon Palace. Woo woo woo. Lan Qingyue stood on Xiaolan's back and patted its body gently. Xiaolan let out a roar that was filled with dominance. In front of them, over 20 billion abyss species roared and charged forward. The ones leading them were 18 pinnacle immortal king abyss species. At the side, the 2 emperor god-level abyss species let out a roar as well. Ga. GGG. All sorts of replies came, and a terrifying murderous aura soared into the sky. The black magic awakened abyssal species also flew forward. Leading them were 47 peak god king realm abyssal species. The strength of the Black Rules clan was a few times stronger than Lan Qingyue. The main reason was that Little Blue's advancement had devoured many abyssal species. They were only left with more than 20 billion underlings. The army of the abyss species flew forward majestically. Ding ding ding. At the same time, ear-piercing alarms sounded at the border between the Imperial Court and Pingy Island. It was completely different from yesterday's warning. All Imperial Dynasty disciples prepare to fight. In this battle, focus on defense. Remember, focus on defense. In this battle, focus on defense. If we let these bastards be a bit more arrogant, it won't be long before we wipe them all out. A voice rang out, and everyone in the battle line heard it clearly. Erect defensive weapons, formations, and war machines. At the next moment, another authoritative voice was heard. Are those bastards coming? Take up your weapons. It's a pity that we should focus on defense this time. I still want to kill to my heart's content. Ha ha ha, fight. The entire front line immediately got into action. Those blazing stars flew towards the abyss gradually. Huge war machines with powerful auras entered the chasm battlefield one after another. Activate the biological war wall. Boom boom boom. At this moment, the God King experts lined up and flew forward with a dazzling ball in their hands. They tossed it out, and a loud boom was heard. A very special creature quickly flew out of the sphere. It was densely packed and extremely terrifying. These creatures gathered together rapidly, forming a wall that was billions of kilometers long, tens of thousands of kilometers tall, and thousands of kilometers thick. This was the biological war wall. The abyss war had to break out within the abyss. This was because the abyss species could expand the abyss with their energy. The appearance of the biological war wall could create a battlefield for the Imperial Court to advance and retreat at will. A defensive front line was built at a terrifying speed. Bzz. Humph, I didn't expect those bastards to attack so quickly. At this moment, the command palace at the back also slowly entered the abyss. A dozen protectors stood there. The chief protector stood in front of a screen, watching the blurry scene on the screen with murderous intent. A total of 65 peak immortal king abyss species. Our Imperial Court isn't any lesser than those bastards. A protector looked at the row of peak immortal king abyss species in front and said coldly, "Look at the back. Those are the people from Dragon Palace. That damn Dragon Palace. They're really participating in this war. It's Dragon Palace. Humph, they're in cahoots with those bastards. In the future, I'll hang the head of that Dragon King in the Imperial Court's punishment hall." In the command palace, a dozen protectors looked at the figures of Dragon Palace on the screen with cold eyes. Send this to the AI, and let the people of the Imperial Star region see it. Haha. Although it's not the world of the people's hearts are still very useful. The Chief Protector looked ahead with a cold look in his eyes. Yes, Chief Protector. One of the Imperial Dynasty Protectors nodded his head solemnly. He immediately opened the AI and recorded the scenes. Then, he released the video in the name of the Protector of the Imperial Court. Dragon Palace is no different from the Abyss species. Soon, our Imperial Court will seal the head of the Dragon King, and let the people of the Imperial Star region despise it. A video and a sentence were immediately sent out. It feels like I'm being watched. At this moment, Wang Xian, who was following the army of Abyss species, looked in one direction. His yin-yang five elements dragon eyes flashed. Bam! Under his gaze, a spark flashed in the void. There's indeed a lot of surveillance. Yamada no Orochi's monstrous and terrifying body was looking around with its eyes. Sparks also flashed in the void. Hee, the winner takes all, and the loser takes all. The time has arrived. Wang Xian didn't care much about the surveillance. His eyes flashed coldly. His gaze was fixed in front of him. Chapter 2791. The war on Pingy Island is about to begin. Hiss, that's the Dragon Palace. They're from the Dragon Palace. There are so many abyssal species. How terrifying. Even the blurry video makes me feel suffocated. And the Dragon Palace at the back. They're simply abyssal species in human form. They're beasts. They're working with the abyssal species. Destroy the Dragon Palace, destroy them. The Dragon Palace has joined the war on Pingy Island. They're on the same side as the abyssal species. Support the Dragon Palace and destroy them as soon as possible. When the Imperial Court Protector's message was sent out, it immediately caused a great sensation. Many humans in the Imperial Star region had always been skeptical about the Dragon Palace and the abyssal species working together. After all, there was no evidence. In the past, the Dragon Palace had hunted a large number of abyssal species. But now, the Dragon Palace had entered the abyss battlefield with the abyssal species. This naturally filled everyone with righteous indignation. Because of the existence of the abyss, the Imperial Star region had suffered heavy losses. Now that the Dragon Palace and the abyssal species were on the same side, their anger was naturally directed at the Dragon Palace. The entire artificial intelligence system and the entire Imperial Star region cursed the Dragon Palace. Everyone supported the destruction of the Dragon Palace and the Dragon King. They wanted to hang the Dragon King's head high so that everyone in the Imperial Star region would despise them. In the Imperial Star region, all humans were paying attention to this war. Boom, boom, boom. At the same time, Wuxia, who was in the abyss, didn't know what was happening on the Imperial Court. All the members of the Dragon Palace followed behind the abyssal species and advanced quickly. The edge of the abyss and the front line of the battlefield were getting closer and closer. We're almost there. An hour later, the scene at the front line appeared in his sight. Wuxia stared ahead and squinted slightly. As expected of the Imperial Court, the battle line has already been set. He murmured, "That terrifying war machine, that powerful might, made one's heart tremble." Among these war machines, there are no less than 10 that have the power of Dragon Peak. Tianjin stood at the side and scanned the front. He smiled faintly. Fortunately, the Imperial Star region isn't good at arrays. Array masters were best at defensive battles, especially those that had been prepared in advance. They could defend against enemies that were 2, 3, or even 4 or 5 times their level. There are so many God Kings in the Imperial Court. Wuxia sighed. Based on his senses, there were at least 2 million Divine King experts in the Imperial Court. This was their foundation, the foundation of the Imperial Dynasty, for more than 600 million years. Of course, the number of God King powerhouses on the side of the Abyss species was not much less than theirs. Compared to the foundation of the Imperial Court, the Abyss race was born from slaughter, and the number of experts they had was also terrifying. The Dragon Palace and the Abyss species are here. At the same time, in the command hall, a group of Imperial Court's protectors stood on the stage and stared at the army of Abyss creatures that gradually appeared in the depths of the Abyss. Their eyes were filled with killing intent. All Imperial Dynasty disciples prepare to fight. At this moment, a loud voice resounded. The protectors in the command room trembled slightly and looked respectfully in a certain direction. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Above the group of Imperial Court disciples, 4 majestic figures floated in the air. The 2 in the middle emitted a pure and resplendent white light. Within the white light, a figure stood quietly. On the left was a ball of fiery red flames that looked extremely gentle. One could clearly see that the figure in the middle was wearing a fiery red long robe. The long robe fluttered behind him even though there was no wind. On the right was a tornado that spanned over 100 kilometers. It wasn't violent, but no one dared to belittle its might. The 4 figures hovered there like the main characters of the world. This was the true power of the gods, high and mighty. A single word from them could determine the life and death of billions of people. Woo woo woo. When they saw the 4 figures appearing in front of them, Xiaolan, Xiaolan, and the 2 god emperors of the Abyss species of the Black Rules system let out a roar in unison. A savage and bloodthirsty murderous aura surged forward. All the Imperial Court disciples at the front of the battle line shuddered as they clenched their fists. The 2 from the Black Rules system, and the female lead from the Giant Beast system. Are you guys really going against the Imperial Court? Both parties were getting closer to each other. In the middle, a figure shrouded in light stared ahead and asked coldly, "Roar, roar, roar, kill." The God Emperor of the Black Rules system, that looked like a bug, swept his blood-red eyes across them and spat out the word kill. The God Emperor of the Abyss species of the God Emperor class could already speak the human language. However, it depended on whether they were willing to communicate with humans. The reason why Lan Qingyue was able to communicate with them was because Xiao Lan and Xiao Zhai were stronger than them. Secondly, the attack on the imperial court was suggested by the two god emperors of the Black Rules system. The moment it said that, the eyes of the four majestic figures shone with murderous intent, as they exuded an imposing aura. Hehe, imperial court, you guys chased us for years and tried to kill us several times. Now, you are saying that you are going against the imperial court. Lan Qingyue stood on Xiaolan's body and stared at the four figures with disdain. She said coldly, "Huh, there's a human on that beast. Chased them for years? What's going on? SSS, there's a woman on the beast. Is she the owner of the beast? There's a human controlling it?" When Lan Qingyue's voice was heard, there were at least 500 billion imperial court disciples on the battlefield that spanned 10 billion kilometers. When they heard Lan Qingyue's voice, they were shocked. The owner of the beast was Lan Qingyue. She was a human. Only the god emperors and guardians of the imperial court, and a few others knew about this. The rest didn't know the exact situation. Is the Dragon Palace courting death too? The faces of the four god emperors darkened. They didn't reply to Lan Qingyue, as they hovered in the air and looked down at the Dragon Palace behind them. Hehehe, a few years ago, the imperial court chased after our dragon queen and almost died many times. If it wasn't for the fact that our dragon queen had her own trump card and wasn't killed by you guys, she would have been dead by now. Now you four dogs dare to question the Dragon Palace? Hehe, of course, we are going to fuck your ancestors. Four dogs of the imperial court. Back then, the disciples of the imperial court chased us for more than 4 years. I didn't die for more than 4 years. Now that I have the strength, I will fuck all of you. 4 old dogs, wash your necks and prepare to die. Hehe. Wang Xian didn't respond to the words of the god emperors. Instead, Baki Devilfiend and Tushuns, who were standing at the side, shouted. He kept calling him an old dog. Chapter 2792. You bastards who associate with animals. Shut your mouths for the imperial court. It won't be long before we cut all of you into pieces. How dare you insult our god emperor? All of you will die. Small Dragon Palace, you will pay a heavy price for what you have done. We will pull out your tongues. In the sky above the chasm battlefield, terrifying killing intent shot out of the eyes of the 4 god emperors when they heard what Yamada Demon Fiend and the others said. At the same time, the surrounding space was affected too. The Imperial Dynasty protectors, and everyone from the Imperial Dynasty, were furious when they heard them insult their great ancestor and their god emperor. The Imperial Dynasty protectors roared with murderous intent. Kikik, a bunch of sanctimonious things. Did you not think that this day would come when you were chasing after our dragon queen? Let me tell you, the puppies of the 4 old dogs, you will die today, because of the 4 of you. After you die, you will reason with the 4 of you. Soon we will cut you into pieces. Kiki, later, I will send you to hell and kill you all. The moment the Imperial Dynasty protectors finished cursing, Yamada Demon Fiend and Yamada Demon Fiend roared at the top of their lungs. Yamada Demon Fiend and Yamada Demon Fiend were experts in shamelessness. You are courting death. Everyone from the Imperial Dynasty was furious when they heard what Yamada Demon Fiend said. No one dared to call the Imperial Dynasty people dogs. Although they had many questions in their hearts, they wanted Dragon Palace to be destroyed just because someone from Dragon Palace scolded them. Before the rest of the Imperial Court's disciples could curse, the Imperial Court God Emperor, who was shrouded in flames, shouted coldly. His voice covered everyone's ears. Everyone from the Imperial Dynasty knew that their great ancestor was furious. I will find the graves of your ancestors. However, the Imperial Dynasty people were furious. Yamada Demon Fiend didn't care about the Imperial Dynasty God Emperor. They were enemies to begin with, and they didn't care about strength. They just had to shout at the top of their lungs. Roar, roar. Yamada Demon Fiend and Yamada Demon Fiend's words caused the 2 God Emperors above the chasm to turn their heads, and confusion flashed in their eyes. Was this how the war between humans started? Ka. The Imperial Dynasty God Emperor, who was shrouded in flames, stared coldly at Yamada Demon Fiend, and Yamada Demon Fiend. Are you fucking looking at your dad? The two of them raised their heads fearlessly, and responded once again. Even some members of the Dragon Palace looked at him speechlessly. Roar. Today, let me experience the strength of you bastards. The Emperor God, who was shrouded in flames, was infuriated. With a roar, he moved and flew forward. Boundless might and terrifying energy wreaked havoc in the sky above the abyss. The Abyss God Emperor species that was also engulfed in flames raised its head and roared angrily. It flapped its huge wings and flew forward. All Imperial Dynasty disciples defend. An Imperial Court God Emperor shrouded in light said. Having said that, he moved and dashed out. Woo woo. Shao Otaku's huge eyes locked onto him as he met him head-on. Woo woo. In the next moment, Little Blue and the other Emperor God Abyss species charged towards the other two Emperor Gods without hesitation. Little Blue locked onto the other figure shrouded in light and charged over with boundless barbaric power. Lan Qingyue, who was on Little Blue's back, flew towards Wang Xian. Ga. When Little Blue and the rest charged over, all the Abyss God Abyss species were riled up. They instantly went berserk and stared at the Imperial Court disciples with their blood-red eyes. Boom. In an instant, the entire space seemed to have undergone a drastic change as the atmosphere turned heavy. The overwhelming number of Abyss God Abyss species charged over. In front of them, all the people from the Imperial Court who were standing on the city wall released their full might. All Imperial Court disciples, this battle is mainly for defense. Disciples at the back carry out long-range attacks. In the next battle, we will annihilate all of them. On the platform of the Imperial Court's Central Command Hall, the Guardian stood there with the scepter of light in his hand. With a wave of his arm, a humongous radiant disk appeared in front of him, covering an area of over 100 million kilometers. Boom boom boom. In the next moment, all sorts of defensive weapons were activated. At a glance, it looked like an indestructible city wall. Kill. The other Imperial Court disciples roared and launched long-range attacks at the Abyss God Abyss species that were charging over. Ga. In front of the Abyss God Abyss species, the Pinnacle God King existences lifted their heads and launched attacks. In an instant, boundless destructive force blasted forward. Guardians of the Imperial Court blocked the attacks of the Pinnacle God King Abyss species. Seeing the attacks of the Pinnacle God King Abyss species, the Guardian of the Imperial Court ordered immediately. Buzz buzz. Rumble rumble rumble. In the next moment, all the Guardians of the Imperial Court bombarded the attacks of the Pinnacle God King Abyss species. The sound of collision rang out, and the mighty energy swept across the abyss. Bam bam bam. However, at this moment, violent attacks were heard from the sky. Fiery red radiance, white radiance and black radiance shone in this space. Those were the colors of the laws. In the sky, the four Imperial Court Emperor Gods clashed with Little Blue and the rest. In a 4-on-4 situation where they were all on the same level, it was almost impossible to determine the victor. Even if there was a difference in strength, it would take 1 to 2 days, or even longer to kill the other party. This was under the condition that the other party didn't escape. Below, after the first round of attacks from the Pinnacle God King Abyss species were blocked, the second round of attacks was launched. This time, at least 1 million Pinnacle God King Abyss species launched long-range attacks at the same time. Terrifying, shocking, and incomparable scenes crossed the abyss. Block. On the Imperial Court side, the Guardian's order rang out once again. Similarly, all the Pinnacle God Kings charged forward. Boom! After another clash, the attacks of the Pinnacle God King Abyss species were completely destroyed. After 2 rounds of attacks, the distance between the two parties shortened. Guardians, be wary of the Dragon Palace. They can erupt with the power of a First-Order God Emperor. The Guardian transmitted his voice to the other Guardians. Haha, Guardian, rest assured. With our defense, we can withstand the attacks of at least 2 God Emperors without the need for Lord God Emperor to make a move. One of the Guardians laughed heartily as he replied, God Emperors weren't cabbages. It was rare to have one more. Even if there were 2 god emperors from the Dragon Palace, they wouldn't be afraid. Even if there were 3 of them, they wouldn't be defeated instantly. After all, their foundation was there. Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System latest chapter link. Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System full text reading link. /21127 Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System TXT download link. /21127 Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System mobile reading link. /21127 for convenience of reading next time. You can click on the collections button on the right to record this time. A great battle ensued, silencing the entire world. 6. Read the record. If you like the Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System, please recommend Green Bean to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.